Hello, and welcome to episode 8. I'm Luc.
And I am George.
And today we're joined by Julien Genestoux, the founder and CEO of Unlock. Julien is deeply rooted in content delivery, having founded Notifixious, the company behind SuperFeedr, then moving on to become lead engineer at Medium. Now with Unlock, Julien is offering a new way for creators to monetize their content using NFTs for access control. This was a great conversation. We hope you enjoy it.
Welcome to the Non-Fund Gerbils podcast, the show about digitally scarce gerbils, non-fungible assets, and the growing decentralized economy. Welcome, Julien, to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. It's a real pleasure to have you on. Your project is, can we say it's exploding? It is to some degree. Everyone's interested in it. We got in touch through our mutual friend Jake Bruckman at CoinFund, who was very kind to introduce us. And before we get on to Unlock and all the great things you guys are doing, give us a bit of a backstory on who you are and how you got into this space.
Yeah, so my name is Julien Genestoux. I'm this French guy who lives in New York right now, and I've been doing open web stuff for a bunch of years. Almost maybe not quite 20, but more than 15 at this point. And to me, the open web is really what all of this is about in the end. Even crypto, I do think, and maybe people are going to hate me to say this, a feature for the open web. And what I mean by the open web is like this kind of permissionless platform where anyone around the world can start building, publishing, creating a business without having to do any kind of, or to have any kind of physical kind of presence or anything like this. Let me give you a story maybe to get started. I was 20 at the time back in France, looking for a summer job. And couldn't find anything, and I was like interested in computers, obviously, like pretty much any other kind of nerd boy at the time, or maybe still today. And I was like, oh, there's no way I can find a summer job outside. Like I went to a bunch of companies and they say, nope, we're not hiring. And so I was like, well, there must be a website that does this. And I couldn't find any website that does this. So I was like, well, you know what? I'll create that. And that's actually how I created my first kind of web application, website at first. And what's amazing is like I did this, I mean, seriously, but not with any expectations, obviously. And after a couple of weeks, we started to get good SEO. And large firms, McDonald's, started to post job offers on that website. And I was blown. I was like, how is that kind of a random 20-year-old from a suburb of Lyon, France, create a website that nobody knows about, nobody cares about, and I didn't call anyone, I didn't ask anyone to put their job offers, but at some point, somebody at a McDonald's say, you know what, we're going to put a job offer on that site. And that's really, for me, that was the mind-blowing thing. It's like, oh, wow, okay. This web thing is really kind of new in that approach. Like you don't need to be anyone to create a business. You don't need to have anybody's permission. You can actually do that. And that's what happened.
That's very cool.
Make sense?
Makes sense. Yeah, it's awesome.
So that's how I got into the web. Maybe how I got into crypto. Fast forward a couple of years, I'm in San Francisco at the time, working on another company called SuperFeedr, which we can talk about because it's actually relevant to podcasts. And I read about like Bitcoin, and one of my contractors at the time say, hey, you know what? I don't want to be paid in dollars. I want to be paid in crypto. It's like, what's crypto? He didn't even say crypto at the time, say Bitcoin. And it was spring of 2011. And I was like, what's nice. Bitcoin?
Early.
And so he explains, and I'm like, all right, well, this sounds shady, but if he wants to be paid with this, I'll try. Called my CPA and say, hey, her name is Carrie. I need to pay this guy in Bitcoin. And she's like, what? It's like, no, don't do that. Like, just pay yourself with dollars and then do your thing. Like, go change your Bitcoins into your dollars into Bitcoin and do that. And so that's actually what I did. At the time, I used, obviously, Mt. Gox. And the funny thing is, as you probably know, Mt. Gox was funded by a French guy. And so I emailed the support, and the guy responded in French, and it's actually Marc Caprice who responds and say, hey, sure, you need to wire money to that French account at Crédit Agricole, I remember correctly, which is another bank in France. And then we'll give you the Bitcoin. It's like, all right, this sounds crazy and shady, but that actually worked. And over the kind of week that it took at the time, obviously no KYC, no nothing. Over the time that it took at the time, basically Bitcoin price went up a little bit, so I was left with change that I kept kind of randomly on my computer for a bunch of years. until a few years ago. I was like, oh wow, this actually is a lot of money now. And so that's how I got into the Bitcoin space, I guess.
That's awesome. An OG, a real original back from 2011.
Random OG, I guess, if that's a thing.
But there's so many were, dude. So many were. They were like, I need it for this, and and then I found it some years later. It's a story that many people have, I guess. So yeah, that's a great way in. So things have progressed since then. Bitcoin got big, Ethereum. Enter the world of NFTs. How did Unlock come onto your radar?
I created it. I guess that's how it came into the radar. But the idea of how it came to me is really because, as I said, I was like a big open web advocate, and one of my big kind of disappointment over the last maybe 5-10 years is seeing the web getting more and more centralized. And I thought a lot more about this over the years. I started to realize that maybe it was also, there's a bunch of reasons why it's getting centralized, but one of the core reasons was the business model of the web. The fact that we use attention to monetize everything was actually a centralization force. It makes some players, mostly what we call FANG or GAFA or whatever you call them, basically Google, Facebook, Amazon, maybe Twitter, and a few others, stronger and stronger because it centralizes attention. Because these platforms are able to gather huge amount of traffic, obviously, and then distribute that traffic to fewer and fewer entities, and as well as sell ads. And so I was like, well, this is kind of the challenges that is going to this is kind of the approach that is going to turn the web into something more and more centralized. At the same time, I started to witness what I call the beginning of the membership economy. So the idea that people started to pay for the stuff that they care about, even though I'm pretty old, but 20 years ago, nobody would pay for anything online. You would use MP3, download it on like some pirating website, and then everybody uses Spotify. It's like, actually, that thing that we assumed would never work looks like people pay for stuff. Same with video, obviously, but even like for newspaper website, if you think about like the New York Times here in the US, and I'm sure it's the same in the UK, but in France as well, there's more and more newspapers that start to charge for their content, even though we assume that content would be free. And so that's kind of one of the trends that I identified. On the other side, I identified the trend, what people call the passion economy, where some creators are able to create an audience just for themselves, like you guys are doing basically on the podcast, and that people want to be part of that audience, so part of the group, being kind of a tribal approach. And so by combining this, kind of people are willing to pay and people want to be part of the group, I guess there's this membership model that seems to emerge as the trend. And that has a ton of benefits. However, at this point, one of my strong belief is that the membership are owned by the very platform that we're trying to move away from. Like your YouTube followers are on YouTube and they're stuck to YouTube. If you move to another video platform, you lose them. Your Twitter followers are on Twitter. Your basically Substack subscribers are on Substack, if you think about this. And so I do think that there's value in being able to decouple the platform from the membership itself, and that's what Unlock is all about. Basically creating membership as tokens that can be used across the whole web in many different ways.
Fascinating. And so how would I go about creating an unlockable piece of content myself?
Yeah. So the first step is you would write that on your CMS, on your platform. One of the approaches of like decoupling this is we don't want to force people into using a specific platform, a specific web browser, even a specific currency. I'll describe how Unlock works, but you can actually use many currencies as long as they're Ethereum based. The idea is that you would create your lock. And the lock is a smart contract that you own and that defines the terms of the currency of the membership. So you say how many keys you want to sell, how many members you want to have. Maybe unlimited, but you can also say I only want like 10 members. You set the price for these membership, and the price is both the currency and the amount. So you can say I'm going to charge 10 DAI for a membership. Define the duration of the membership. Like every time somebody becomes a member, they're a member for 10 days, for a year, for 100 years if you want to do something like this. And then so you create that smart contract. We'll help you deploy this obviously by our website. And then we provide an API, mostly JavaScript at this point, that you can put on your website that will ensure that a visitor who wants to see that content has to be a member, has to have a key to view the content. And to get a key, the easy step is to actually send money to the lock. So you send money to the lock, you get the key, which is the non-fungible token. And that's, I guess, where we need to insist on. Like you get the NFT, and now it's kind of a member's card that proves that you've paid to access that content and that you should get access to the content.
Interesting. So the contract is minting the NFT. Would there be a way to retrofit the contract to work with previously minted NFTs, so you could offer sort of, boosters to people who've already got a particular NFT.
I guess, yeah. So one of the yes, I'm pretty sure. So when you own the lock, people can either purchase a key or you can grant keys to some other people. So you could definitely have a way. I mean, if you identify a bunch of users that you think should kind of get a key, you look at their addresses and then you grant them keys for free. Say, hey, you're a member because you already have that other NFT.
Mm-hmm. Well, clearly we have, a few people out there with our gerbils, and when we've built the gerbil cage, we're going to need to invite them in some way. So we'll be unlocking that further down the line.
Yeah, exactly. And so you invite them. And so we're already, one of the things that I love about Ethereum, and that's something that I used to love about the web, and I feel like it's never fully delivered there, and I hope Ethereum can do that. It's the composability. It's the idea that other people can build things that I'm going to leverage in that world. And so one of the examples that I'm pretty excited about, like the team at LinkDrop. I'm sure you've heard of LinkDrop. It's basically a tool that allows people to airdrop assets, crypto assets. So basically sending a link to someone so they can claim an asset. So you would do that in the context of giving away membership. So you say, hey, you have a bunch of friends or a list of people that might be interested in this. You don't necessarily have their addresses, but you can send them links and say, hey, please claim your membership now. It's free. Click on that button and you get it. And so that's one way that we don't have to build this, obviously, because it already exists out there in the wild.
Mm-hmm. So say I've got a Forbes subscription. Forbes is your first big client.
Maybe you should talk about Forbes, yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about that and how it came about?
Yeah, so obviously one of the key aspects of membership is like around publishers, and we see that a lot of publishers, as I said earlier, are moving toward paywalls, and so we're having discussion with a lot of them. And so when we chatted with Forbes, we told them, hey, Forbes, you're one of these publications that talks a lot about crypto, and it's good. At the same time, it would be, I think, interesting for you guys, since you preach, to kind of follow your own lessons. And when you say the future of money is crypto, you should start to use crypto yourself. And so we started thinking about like what a membership could mean. And on Forbes, they decided that a membership is something that doesn't give you access to specific content yet. Maybe at some point they will. But for now, it gives you access to an ad-free experience. So you can go to the Forbes website, purchase your NFT, and if you have the NFT, then you get no ads on the Forbes articles. So that's what that first membership is all about. And you've got two types of membership. One that is 1 month long, and the other one that is 1 week long. So you can obviously do either of these. And for the duration of the key, you basically don't have ads.
Okay. And so if I've got my my Forbes membership key to not have adverts, and I want to send George a link, a time-locked link on my membership to also have no adverts on Forbes, is that something that you can do, or is that?
So it is. It's not yet doable, but it's something that will be doable very soon. Is like the idea of sharing a membership. So I got a membership to something, it's an NFT that I can transfer to you. If I transfer my Forbes membership to you, you see no ads, I see ads again, which is kind of frustrating. What we're thinking of is like, now, well, instead of sharing the completeness, my full membership, I can transfer some time off of my membership. So it's like, I've got access for a month, I'll send you maybe 3 days. So now mine is reduced by 3 days and yours is extended, or you have a new one for 3 days. And now you get no ads for 3 days and I get no ads for 27 days.
Okay, I like that.
And you could translate that through to content, couldn't you? Because I get a lot of articles sent to me and I hit paywalls and I think, well, I'll not read it, or I'll,
Exactly.
And I'd imagine that there's a sort of win-win here in the sense that I know that someone is specifically interested in this topic.
Yep.
The article is perfect for them.
Yep.
I'm gonna send it to them whilst also doing this sort of fairly altruistic thing, which is to give them access. But then they also get to read the quality of the content of the media outlet themselves. So it's a bit of an ad for them in a way. Is that functionality?
It's the exactly kind of thing that we want to build. It's basically providing consumers the ability to share content along with some of their time of their membership. So I'll send you a link and say, all right, this is a 10-minute long article. I'll send you a link plus 10 minutes of my membership. And obviously for yourself, it's actually useful because you can read that content. That creates a stronger relationship between us. You also kind of create value for the creator. Like the person who actually wrote the article that I'm sharing might actually be interested in me sharing this. And so we're also thinking about building inside of Unlock what I call the referral program, a way to reward people that actually share content around or share their memberships around, because we do think that's actually a very valuable thing to do for the ecosystem in practice.
And also potentially for Unlock, because
Yes.
as people spread the ability to gain access through paywalls, your business is the catalyst that allows that to happen.
Exactly. And so, I mean, yes, it is as a business, but it's more importantly as a protocol. And so that's maybe, let's go deeper into the crypto economics. It's the idea that we're building a network, and obviously the value of the network, the value of Unlock is, as an aggregate, is better if it's used everywhere on the web. And why is this better if it's used everywhere on the web? It's because it reduces friction. Like as a consumer, now it's much easier for me to subscribe to one more thing. I know the experience, it's all in my wallet. I know that I can click here and it unlocks this. I also have an interface that we call the keychain, where as a user, I can view all of my membership, easily cancel some, transfer some, do a bunch of things with them. So I think that's actually valuable to have kind of a standardized experience. At the same time, if it's more valuable, the people that are growing that network should be rewarded. And the people that are growing are definitely the people that are sending each other kind of referrals or part of their membership. And that's actually one of the systems that we're building and just getting started to build is the ability to reward people that are making links in the form of future value of the network. So that sounds kind of crazy crypto thing, but think of it as discounts. So basically you get discounts that you can apply later on when enough time has passed and when the network is larger for your key purchases. So maybe today I pay full price for something, but if I do that and I share with you, at some point I'll have enough points that a year from now, 3 months from now, 10 years from now, I can now get that thing for free. And so that's kind of the idea of redistributing the value of the network as it grows.
So would you have your own token to enable that?
So that's obviously a big question. I don't know if it's yes, there's going to be some kind of unlock token. It's not a currency per se. I do think more like as a point system. I'm sure in the UK maybe that works the same way as in the US, but in the US, credit card have all like their point system. You get Visa points, you get Amex points, you get Chase points. These points allow you to generally get like cheaper airline tickets. That's the same kind of idea that we want to build. I think Amazon has a similar system and things like this.
How does it work from a charging perspective at the moment in terms of fees? What's the business model?
The business model is actually pretty simple. We can't take fees on the crypto transaction. So if you purchase a Forbes membership, you pay Forbes, obviously, you pay their lock, so they get the funds that you send them. You pay the miners in the form of Ethereum and gas fees, obviously, but you don't pay us. And the money doesn't go through us, so there is no way we could actually capture anything here. However, we provide what we call a convenience layer. So you and I have crypto wallets. It's great. We use that. That's perfect. Most people in the world today actually don't have crypto wallets. They only have credit cards. In that case, we allow them to actually purchase their membership with a credit card. And maybe I can describe that mechanism later on. But the idea is that when they do so, we charge a small convenient fee on the credit card transaction. Okay,
so it's in a way it's becoming a member of Unlock to some degree. You're paying for access to your services.
I guess that's a good way to describe it. I never thought about this way, but yes, you could say that you're an Unlock member that gives you some services, and then you can do these things. You're right. It's similar to Amazon Prime, I'd say. If you know this, basically you're a member of Amazon to purchase stuff and not pay for the fast delivery. I guess it's a similar approach. Yeah, that's right.
Fascinating.
You mentioned somewhere else, I can't remember if it was in an interview or if it was on your blog, that you plan on building in the ability for having secondary sale, a percentage of the secondary sale going back to the original content creator.
Yes, exactly. So when a creator creates a lock, what's really important to me is that they decide of all of the terms of how their membership works. So they decide of the price, as I said earlier, they decide of the number of members they want to have. They also decide of like what happens if people transfer their membership. So they can say, no, we don't allow people to transfer their membership. You have a Netflix account, it's only yours, nobody can have it. I don't think that's the best approach, but they can say this. Another approach that they can say is, hey, yes, you can transfer your membership, either fully or partially. If you do so, we won't take a fee. And that fee is actually not necessarily in money, but in time. So if I send you out of my Netflix account for 30 days, I send you 2 weeks, maybe my account is reduced by more than 2 weeks. And the benefit of this for the creator is that obviously this way they can monetize that secondary market. So if you decide to not have a Netflix account, and then if you just go back and forth, I send you mine, you send me yours, I send you mine, you send me yours all the time, at some point, well, I've paid enough in time that it's actually worth getting 2 Netflix memberships. So it's a way to kind of leverage that secondary market. If these things become more valuable, then we should be able to do that. Another idea of mine, which I think is really, I mean, for me important, is like a lot of, so let's not talk about Netflix, but a lot of indie creators, like maybe small bloggers or writers, photographers, I don't know what's the anyway, people making pictures, painters, musicians might want to sell access to long-term membership. So I'll only sell 10-year worth of access to my content as a musician. Because that's enough money that I can actually now start doing my music and not worry too much every month about selling again and again. But now the person who actually purchased my 10-year membership could kind of slice and dice that 10-year into like 10 times 1 year and sell the 1 year at a larger price than a tenth of the duration. This way, as a creator, I can say, hey, it's only fair if I capture some value based on the value that you're doing with that, basically. Does that make sense?
Mm.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
And so that's the kind of thing that we want to leverage and promote.
Because you can support content creators whilst also gaining access to future content that they're producing, whilst also potentially taking part in the growth of that artist as people become more interested and want to gain access. You can sell your... It's a very, very interesting model.
So think of it like Kickstarter thing, where it's like, oh, I'm like a musician, I'm going to go on Kickstarter, and I'm going to sell like 10-year access to my music. And maybe there's enough people that sell this. If I become something or somebody really popular, then I can actually sell smaller pieces of my long-term access as a way to maybe not necessarily make money, but like recoup some of my investment in that way.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It's almost like a sort of a more legal way of an artist doing an ICO. Is they're ICOing their time.
Yeah, in some way. I should say this, like, I'm definitely not a lawyer, and I'm not sure what are the implications in every single country. So I would advise anyone to kind of make sure if they're doing anything like this, they're in the clear. But I do think that, again, for small scale artists, Kickstarter is legal, so I don't think why it would be illegal to do the same thing with tokens.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. There's a certain, in a way, there's a little bit of a feeling of Patreon involved, although this feels like it's far more extensible and far more available for people. It feels a lot more permissionless. I mean, Patreon, as we've seen, has had issues in the past with even like credit card providers pushing against Patreon to get people delisted, stuff like that. I'd imagine this probably wouldn't be affected in any way along those lines.
I mean, we can never underestimate the ability of incumbents to kind of fight back. So I'm sure they would find some ways. Not only I think it is more permissionless, but it's also more flexible. Like Patreon is great, but if I'm kind of doing videos, I can only use their player. There's no way I can put that content on my own website and kind of use their API to check the. But with Unlock, you can decouple this, and basically now my own WordPress blog, if I put the videos there, I can only give access to the people that have a key to the non-fungible token. It's the same thing, and if I decide to put that on another site, it becomes as easy as... I mean, there's no coupling between the platform itself and the membership, and I think that's actually very, very flexible. That also allows for things where maybe I'm a musician now, and then 2 years from now, I'm a filmmaker. I don't have to kind of recreate a new type of membership. I can say, hey, the people that are my members when I was doing music can actually access my content as I'm doing movies now. It's decoupled from the platform, even from the content itself. You become a member of someone. And that's what I like about that idea of membership economy. It's like personal brand or something that is very narrow in terms of scope.
Yeah, and great for the person purchasing it, because also like with Kickstarter, if you invest into that, there's no chance of getting your money back. If you decide you want it out, you can, as long as there's a buyer, you can sell that membership onto someone else.
Yeah, exactly. Another thing that this allows, and maybe, I mean, I'm giving a million ideas here, so I want to make sure that people understand, but like, it's the idea of bundles. It's like, I've got my blog. There's actually a membership on my blog, and if people want to try it out, you should try it. It's ouvre-boite, boite.com. You can go there. There's a membership, $5 a year. So, I mean, it's basically coffee. If you can go there and try it, then tell me what you think. Now, if you decided to have your own blog at some point, or your own membership for non-fungibles, you could say, hey, Julien is not going to get a lot of members. We're not going to get as many members as we want. But maybe the bundle of like offering Julien's content and our podcast in one single membership would actually be something that's very useful. And so maybe now on we create together kind of a lock. We put it in a DAO or agree to share the ownership of that thing. We depending on who will do this, but we create a lock, and then we put that same lock on my blog and your content. If somebody has a key, they can read my content and listen to your podcast without having to subscribe twice. And I do think that's also one of the very powerful things of Unlock, is that it enables bundles. It enables people to kind of work together by creating a single membership that gives access to people across many, many different things. How they decide on splitting the revenue is kind of a different thing, and there's ways to do that in a decentralized manner as well. But that's, again, something that is almost impossible to do in the physical non-crypto world that becomes very easy to do with Unlock.
Yeah. Clearly, there's a range of things that you can do with this. So it's going to be very exciting to see it, gain momentum. How is momentum at the moment? How are things for Unlock and you? And obviously the incoming interest is there, but are people taking it up? Are people using it? How's that looking?
Yeah, we're starting to see a bunch of people starting to use that in kind of unexpected ways on their blogs, on their sites. So we have people like allowing people to unlock comments on their sections. We get a bunch of people asking us to do kind of bots for Telegram and other chat rooms where only the members can actually either participate, read, or write comments. There is somebody asked us to write a plugin for Discourse, the forum that allows people, only members, to participate into a specific kind of thread or topic, which I think is pretty useful. So it's obviously, like anything in crypto, just the beginning, but it's actually pretty exciting to see a lot of use cases appear here and there. There's a few areas where we're seeing traction. That's actually thing that we're like, oh, that had to happen. We had recently kind of adult website saying, hey, want to use Unlock for this kind of content. That's obviously the benefits here is around privacy. Obviously, people don't pay with credit card on porn site mostly, or are worried about paying with credit card on porn site. That with Unlock it becomes anonymous, and that's something that's much easier to do. No account to create, no identity to provide, no completely permissionless. Another area we're seeing traction is around tickets to conferences. I'm sure you know, but like a ticket to a conference is a kind of membership. You're a member of the conference for like 2 days, 3 days, 5 days. And that's one of the areas that we're seeing some traction as well. We're doing tickets for FCC in Paris. So you should go there.
I'll be there 100%.
What FCC did, which is really cool, is like the ticket is cheaper if you buy it through crypto than through their kind of fiat ticketing system. So get a crypto ticket. So that's one way we're working with a bunch of other conferences here in the US that are happening in the spring and the summer around that topic as well.
And in terms of like, we're in a bit of a bubble with us in terms of like in our niche. A lot of us discussing NFTs, we even know what it stands for, like the inner workings of how this works. Where MetaMask pops up. There's clearly a huge swathe of people out there who know nothing. What elements are there that we still need to fit in place in order for people to feel completely comfortable? Because clearly you've spent quite a lot of time slimming down your onboarding process. Taking a look at your demo that's on YouTube, it's pretty seamless, but you still have to get people to understand gas and so on and so forth. Talk us through that.
So we're actually working on like making sure that people don't even have to think about gas or anything like this. So
okay.
Our approach, and that's kind of the opposite of what a lot of people are doing, is like they're trying to take kind of a process that exists in the non-crypto world and then coding with crypto. It's like, oh, you can now pay with crypto. It's like, but that core is still not crypto-based. We're doing pretty much the other way around. We're taking something that exists in crypto world, in the non-crypto world, and making it pure crypto, and then adding a non-crypto layer around it so that it's easy for people that don't care, don't know about crypto to do that. The example of this is like we support what I call credit card purchases, where basically you show up, and my blog is a good example of this. You show up, you don't have a crypto wallet like MetaMask or anything like this. It will ask you to log in with an email and password. You can create an account. It's like you would create an account for any other Web2 application, and then put your credit card number and then pay. And as a non-crypto user, that is actually seamless. Like you don't know that's actually powered by crypto. What's happening under the hood is like your credit card payment is sent to Unlock Inc. Unlock Inc. will do the on-chain transaction on your behalf because that email and password account actually has an address on the Ethereum chain. So there's no currency attached to that account, but we assign you the NFT that we purchased on your behalf. And so basically we're taking the same core that crypto people use and then coding it with a non-crypto interface. And I do think that's how most people are eventually going to interface with crypto. is without knowing about it in some way, because it's going to be at its core powered by crypto, and then many people can compete to build that non-crypto layer on top of it. And I think that's a much healthier world where now, instead of being locked at a service because the data, because the core API is owned by Facebook, Twitter, Google, now it's like that core data and API is public, and then people are building user interfaces on top of this that are kind of available for everyone.
Do you need to do KYC or anything like that when accepting payments?
So our understanding at this point is like, no, we don't, because there again, like if in the crypto payments, if the thing that you're doing was actually putting a record in the database, nobody would ask you to do KYC in that context. So there's no requirement to do KYC to purchase a ticket to a conference without crypto. There's no reason why the fact that it's using crypto should mean that you have to do KYC, because from a user's perspective, it's actually the exact same experience. The implementation detail of where the data is stored is an implementation detail. It's not about the legality of how that's happening.
Okay.
We're not providing kind of an exchange service that would require people to identify people, like, because they can get money in and out of the system. Here, you just pay for a service, and that service gets delivered to you. It happens to be delivered via crypto, but it could be delivered via a blockchain, a regular database, and nobody would ask whether it's actually KYC or anything like this.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, what are the sort of biggest barriers that you're up against at this point?
The biggest one is the most scary one, I'd say. It's the fact that in the crypto space, a lot of people don't live by their words. A lot of crypto people who preach about crypto all day long will tell you like, I actually don't use crypto myself very much. I don't have a crypto wallet, or I'd much rather use my credit card than use blockchain. And to me, that's kind of the biggest threat to that ecosystem. Is like we focus too much on our bags of money and not enough on users. And the only way to focus on users is to actually be users ourselves. The only reason or the only way these currencies and these bags of tokens ever become valuable is because more and more people start to use them. It's not, value is going to come from somewhere, and it's going to come from new users, basically. And if we don't have new users, then nobody's bag is going to be more valuable. And to get new users, we need to make it easier. We need to kind of iterate on the implementation, on the experience, on the practicality of how things work. And the only way to do that is to actually be users ourselves.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah.
Why do you think it is that people are resistant to actually using crypto?
It's honestly a good question. I suspect that a lot of people are like somebody else, not me, kind of thing. It's like, oh, it's still risky. I'd rather have somebody else get burned than me, which to me is always kind of frustrating. Like, I've seen a lot of people comment about DeFi. It's like, oh, this is eventually. I'm not going to use DeFi because this is eventually going to fail. It's like, well, that's kind of self-fulfilling. If everybody's thinking the same thing, nobody's going to use DeFi, and then it's going to fail for sure. I'm not saying put all of your money in DeFi tomorrow, but try exploring things. Like maybe put, I don't know, if you have some savings, a couple $100 on a CDP or on a savings account with Compound, whatever you call that. Try to tokenize small things, a few memberships here and there. Again, don't move all of your life to crypto tomorrow, but try to make the effort of taking a little risk. You'll be rewarded for sure, because it's actually fascinating experiences and fascinating workflows and new things that can become possible. But saying, I'm not going to touch this because it's going to break, is basically what's eventually, yes, it's never going to work if nobody touches it.
I think that's what excites me to some degree about the NFT space, is that people pay for entertainment. And I think that this space we're in is the most entertaining. You can collect and you can game and you can express yourself through what you buy. I mean, we're just looking at what's happening within crypto voxels at the moment,
yeah.
And this explosion of interest, and it's because they've provided an area where people can communicate to some degree, and their personalities and who they are, and what projects they're for, and so on and so forth. And so I think, and it's probably no big surprise that actually, when you look at the DApp rankings, it's the NFT DApps that are right up there, because it's less about, well,
the finance aspect,
if my exactly, it's like I'm actually willing to pay to get one of these things. And so that's it's very exciting.
And it's not so risky to create taxable events, which is quite. I think people are quite averse to around DeFi.
It's a good point.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. And you sort of Unlock sort of sits in a really interesting place from that perspective, because actually, like, the whole of crypto can use it in various ways, but also the wider web. Yeah, you have a very large potential addressable market.
Yeah, that's definitely the case. Like when you think about membership, and to me, I'm kind of biased, obviously, but every day I see a new membership here, a new membership there. Like I mentioned, Amazon Prime. This is obviously a membership, and that could be tokenized. That could be something that is through Unlock, and the fact that I have that membership gives me free. You can imagine like I don't know. I'm sure in the UK, like in New York, the subway card has a monthly unlimited option, and that's a membership to the subway in some way. You can, I've got that thing now. I get access to subway for a month or for a week or something like this. Every day I think about, this is a new membership. And so if you had like conferences to get software licenses is a kind of membership. If you think about this, right, you're a member of Adobe Photoshop and you can access the detouring feature or whatever for a month as well. So not every, but like a lot of things that we take for granted are actually membership. And I was talking with a friend of mine the other day and told me, well, actually my wallet, talking about like physical wallet, not crypto wallet. If you look at my wallet, there's obviously a couple bills, not a lot, a couple coins, not a lot. There's a ton of membership cards, like my membership card to the gym, my membership card as the subway is another example, or my membership card even to like my supermarket has its own membership card. And so there's maybe even in our wallets at this point more non-fungible tokens in the form of membership than there are fungible tokens in the form of currencies.
Yeah, that's a great way of looking at it. Really fascinating. Just to come back, I mean, we know that the internet very much was taken on by the adult entertainment industry. Talking about privacy and how where non-fungible tokens are obviously moving into addresses and various things, we know that to some degree it's pseudo-anonymous. Are there elements that can be taken on? I mean, I suppose because NFTs are programmable in various ways, as new privacy technologies appear, they could be integrated into this system.
Yes, so it's something obviously that we're thinking a lot about these days. And at some point, I do think that there's going to be some way in my kind of crypto knowledge cryptography knowledge here is a bit limited, but I'm sure that at some point a way that I can prove that I own a key to something without telling you what key that is or who I am, basically. And so for me, that would be kind of the ideal solution. In the meantime, though, I do think that it's actually very possible to create identities that are not linked to any of my other thing, and have somebody grant a key to that address. So that requires kind of a trusted party in the middle. So basically, I'll make a payment to someone and say, hey, grant a key to that address. Maybe, obviously in an off-chain mechanism, but having a way to kind of get a key granted to some other thing without revealing who I am. And having enough of these trusted third party would bring a world where there's already a much better privacy in that way.
Yeah, that makes sense, absolutely.
And obviously, the payment could itself come from, we've looked at like Tornado Cash and a bunch of these other, I don't know if they're called mixers, but like these ways that you can anonymize coins via zero knowledge proofs. And so that would basically, you'd pay through one of these anonymized coins, basically, to pay a third party to assign a membership to another address. Means that it's probably very anonymized along the way. I mean that it's hard to actually. I don't think anyone could easily go back and trace back the identity of the person who purchased that membership. I think
yes. There's so many different possibilities. It's a very exciting project. Do you? How big's your team? Like, where are you in terms of rolling this out? You guys are live and ready to go, or can you onboard everyone?
Yeah, that's where we are right now. So live, ready to go. Team is actually fairly small. We're a team of 3 full-time engineers here in New York, plus a bunch of contractors and a designer. So fairly small team. We've been doing this for about 1.5 years, a bit less than that, so a bit more than a year. It's still just the beginning, but we have production-ready code, obviously, on the smart contract level, on the mainnet, obviously, plus a few testnet, Rigby, Coven, we're there. We have a first few application, as we call them, that allow people to integrate that on their own website easily. again, everything open source. Go to our GitHub, github.com/open-protocol.com. Everything is there. We write everything in public and transparent. That's where we are. So we are at the point where we've proven kind of the technology. It works. It's there. It's actually a thing. We're getting the first few users, and obviously we're scaling our effort to getting more and more people to know about this, start to use this, and maybe even contribute. Like as I mentioned earlier, we have people kind of starting to build plugins for different platforms to make it easy to integrate Unlock there. One of the things that, and maybe I'm kind of pushing here, but one thing that I'm really excited about is the idea of using the token itself as my login. So it's kind of a weird thing, but if you use Unlock, again on my blog, on forums, on the Defiant, and a bunch of other things, you'll see that you don't need to create an account. You can easily unlock the content without telling who you are or anything like this. But there's context in which you might want to say who you are because the service is going to provide you better information. And in that way, I want to say who I am, but I don't want them to necessarily store that information in a database somewhere because that's kind of a liability. What I can do, and that's actually what happens with ticket to conferences, is I can store that information inside of my token. So I purchase the token and I put inside of the NFT as metadata in an encrypted way, obviously my email, my name, and maybe, I don't know, my date of birth, so that the creator, the owner of the membership, can actually see who I am and give me a gift for my birthday, if that makes sense. And so I do think that the membership in itself can become the way we authenticate with applications, if that's that making a little bit of sense.
Yes.
So it's anonymous, obviously, and I can share selected data in a very unique way with the creator. Say, hey, all right, this is my email address. If you need to send me an email, you can do that this way. And that's through my token. If I transfer my membership, they don't have access to my email address anymore. They could obviously have backed it up somewhere else. That's always possible. But in practice, if I transfer my membership, then my email address is gone and they can't send me an email anymore. Or they don't have access to that anymore. So they could still store, but that's kind of something that would always happen. Once you disclose something, you can't guarantee that that person would not keep that information. So it's a way to share information this way. So from consumer to creator. Think about the other way around. Like as a creator, now I've got my membership on my blog, as I said earlier, and you guys are a member. Something that I hope we can work on in the near future is the ability for me, the blog owner, to kind of send notification to the tokens. So you're a member, you got that card in your wallet, that key as we call it in your wallet. I'd be able to send metadata, say, hey, there's a new story here. And so you'd show up on your wallet and you'd see kind of your membership to my blog. It says Julien has posted a new story, and then you click on here and then go there. And so that's kind of a way to reorganize the membership and use the token itself as kind of a communication channel between the member and the creator.
Like sort of signing up to a newsletter.
Yes.
Kind of thing.
So could you talk us through how it would work with having your email address, for example, within the token, but encrypted? How do you allow access to that to decrypt that and then take that away again?
So for now, it's simple and basic, but we have good plans. So the idea is like I encrypt with the creators. So basically, when I save that information as metadata, I use the creator's public key. So I encrypt with their public key. So it's only them can decrypt it with their private key. Mm-hmm. Basically. So that's basically the other way around. If they want to read the content, they kind of decrypt the content with their private key, and then they get the content in clear. Nobody else can actually look at that stuff. And
then you destroy that token later when you want to take away that.
Exactly. When I transfer, so the way it's actually implemented is the metadata is attached to the owner of the token. So when you retrieve the token's metadata, you retrieve not only the token's metadata, but the token's owner's metadata as well. And so if I transfer the token, obviously there's a new owner. And so now if I retrieve the metadata on the token, we retrieve the metadata of the new owner, not of the old owner. And so that's kind of a way to ensure that it doesn't propagate.
Oh, so you're rewriting the metadata of the token as it moves around.
Yes, exactly. Or we're reassigning the metadata in some way. So the stuff that I wrote is actually attached to my identity, to the current owner. And if I transfer it, the new owner has different metadata, and the token will point to the new owner's metadata. We don't even have to kind of rewrite or erase things.
Because the token itself's not going to be writable, is it? Because that's going to be so where the token links to will be.
It's not writable, but like the owner of the token is actually on chain. So what I said is like we attach the metadata not to the token itself, but to the owner of the token.
But if you grant someone access to that, can you you not then take it away? So once you've signed something with their public key, then they've got access forevermore.
So, but they get access to their token's metadata which will return only the current owner's metadata, not the past owner's metadata. Well, from the creators. Sorry, let me try to clarify this. So the creator will only read metadata from the token. Now, the mechanism to read data from the token actually reads data from the owner of the token. So it's kind of there's an implicit redirect where I read the token's metadata, I actually read the owner's metadata on the token at any point. And so if you transfer the token, as a creator, I'll still read the token's metadata, but I'm going to get a different result because there's a different owner for that token.
Okay, so the token then points back to whoever's holding it at the time.
Exactly, at any point. And so if I transfer this, I can't read the old owner's metadata.
Okay, so the token is just a redirect to, and it hasn't got actual personal details attached directly to it. Okay.
I mean, from an API's perspective, it looks like it's on the token, but in practice, in the back, it's actually pointing to the owner's metadata. So you never query a user's metadata. You query the token's metadata, and what you get is the current owner's metadata for that token.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that makes sense. Sorry, so hard to understand these things sometimes.
No, it's good. It's great. And you know what? There's a ton of this that's here in my head. We have a doc site. I need to write this down. It's a good reminder that I need to write this down because this is actually obviously something that's going to be useful for more people. We have implemented a bunch of things, so it's there already on GitHub. But writing it down makes it easier to explain and makes it easier for people to understand how that works.
Well, it feels like we could sit here for a lot longer discussing the potential of this very exciting thing that you've built. I'm very excited by it. You guys are obviously super busy, but just sort of to round off, how are you in terms of the rest of the NFT space? Do you get some time to look around, to play around, to get a couple of crypto kitties here and there?
Yeah, I do have a couple of crypto kitties here and there. I have actually a bunch. We've done earlier this spring. I mean, last spring actually in 2018 with the team. We've done a little offsite. It was like, let's explore NFTs for a day. And so we basically used all of the kind of non-fungible stores, looked at a lot of different things. Stuff like ENS is something that is pretty exciting to me, like obviously names as NFTs. One thing that I'm a bit frustrated about, and I guess that makes sense, is like often people, when I say NFTs, they're like, oh, games. They're like, well, actually, NFTs is more than games. It's games is just one subcategory. It's the one that we hear a lot these days. But if you think about a non-fungible token, it doesn't have to be just a game. Like in some way, my ID is a non-fungible token.
Absolutely.
And so anything that is non-fungible in the physical world should have a token, could have a token representation. A deed on a house is a non-fungible token. And so there's an infinite amount of possibilities around non-fungible token, and that's something that I think we're barely scratching the surface, and that kind of suffers because a lot of not necessarily investors, but a lot of people that I talk to is like non-fungible token, oh, that's just the gaming thing. Like, well, no, actually, gaming is just a very narrow part. It's something that is the first use case, I'd say, of non-fungible token, but I think we're barely starting to explore what that means. Like a plane ticket is a non-fungible token. I mean, many things are non-fungible token, and if we think about tokenizing all the things, most of them are not going to be currencies, they're going to be non-fungible tokens.
Well, you guys are showing the way, right? I mean, here you are, a membership's a non-fungible token, and actually, if you want to try out the membership, I'm going to send you a non-fungible token. You try it out, and I think, yeah, you're showing the way for sure.
Yeah.
Just for our listeners, if you have a place where you'd like them to go to check it out, obviously the Unlock main thing, but if there's a Twitter side, or give us where we can contact you.
Yeah, I think our main website is the place where there's all of the links, so I'll send you to unlock-protocol.com, and you can unlock a free membership to Unlock there. It's kind of weird, but we decided to put a membership on Unlock so people can try it out. That one gives you comments on our blog. Basically, you can leave and read comments on our blog for free. You just pay gas and you go there. And so we definitely incentivize people to go there. Another one that I think people should look at is, as I said, ticket to conferences, IFCC in Paris. I'll mention Ethereal in New York because by the time this goes live, I think that's going to be live as well on their side. So Ethereal New York happening in May, tickets to Unlock. So go there. And maybe a last one, if you got interest in DeFi, check Camila Russo's The Defiant newsletter, bit.ly/the-defiant, and you'll be able to unlock her membership with DAI.
Great stuff. Luke, anything else from your side?
No, I think we've just about covered it. I think, thank you very much for joining us and spending the time today.
No, thank you very much for having me.
It's been so interesting, and we'll have you back further down the line to see exactly how this has proliferated across the web.
Happy to, yes, for sure. And at some point, we should think about like what it means to be a member to the Non-Fungibles podcast. I think that.
Yeah, well, this has got us thinking. Definitely,
sure.
we've got a lot of big plans, and I suspect Unlock will unlock a lot of it. Excuse the pun.
Excited about this. Cool.
Good stuff. All right, cheers, mate. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
A huge thank you to Julien for joining us. If you'd like to keep up with everything that happens in between episodes, come and find us on Twitter at nonfungerbils. That's where all the action happens, and you can also find us on various Discord servers. Check out specifically the Token Smart Discord server for details on chat that cover the whole space. We also have our own channel on there, thanks to Jim McNeils. Our website is nonfungerbils.com, and we'll see you very soon, in 2 weeks in fact, for our next episode, where we'll also be reading out some DeFi gerbil entries and naming the next gerbil to be born. Okay, we'll see you then. Thanks for listening.